If I told you, Wilson, that this was the most painful podcast, if you're 35 years podcasting with me, would that be enough for you to fire me?
I don't. Here's the thing, though. That's
Jerry
like
Jones said that about this loss.
But let me put it in context. That's like Breach going on an all-time Breachian bender, and Breach in this role is Dan Quinn, which means he would have to be elevated. You can't promote Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn actively acted like he wanted to get the big man fired.
I'm just saying, if Jerry Jones comes out and says after this loss, this humiliating 48-32, which wasn't even that close loss to the Packers,
Let me read us a little something for you.
Go ahead.
So this is from after the Week 18 game, and Jerry was asked after the Commanders win, would McCarthy be back for a fifth season? We'll see how each game goes in the playoffs. And then he had to scramble to qualify. He said, in my Brinson voice doing Jerry, I was a little surprised. I don't know how it could be any clearer. Coach McCarthy is under contract for next year, so that's not an issue. Secondly, I could not be more pleased with what he's done and how he's coached. So proceed.
Jerry called it the most painful, quote, the most painful, end quote, playoff loss in his entire time owning the Cowboys.
Do you think that's true, Breach? I would imagine he's had more painful losses.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, we can.
No, I believe he said it. I don't know if that's the most painful loss.
Right. It's the most recent. The last 3 years.
I can name other Packers losses that are more painful. Is he kidding? 34-31 when Aaron Rodgers drove him down in like 60 seconds. That had to be more painful.
You think?
That's true.
On, Jerry.
Here's the issue for Mike McCarthy. There's several. One, his last 3 losses.
The Dez Bryant catch game was against the Cowboys and Packers. That's another. That's
way
2
more
Packers
painful.
games that are higher on the painful scale.
Calling BS on you, Jerry.
I can name Seahawks games that are worse than this Packers game. But the last 3 losses in the playoffs for Mike McCarthy, and whether we all try to be reasonable and say we should judge a coach not by their, one game, small sample playoff stuff, but that's the reality of the NFL. There's the Dak slide, refs screw up, Mike McCarthy might give the crazy hands excuses thing against the Niners. The following year, when he had Zeke snap the ball to Dak, Zeke gets obliterated. And then this year, where this team that is the number 2 seed in the NFC and fully capable of winning the Super Bowl gets obliterated by Jordan Love and a bunch of guys that Jerry Jones literally, in terms of like, Aaron Jones is a Jordan Love. Jordan Love, he knows. Aaron Jones, a Cowboys killer. His splits for his career, it's Cowboys are a joke. But Romeo Doubs, Jerry Jones doesn't know half the guys on the Packers depth chart at wide receiver and tight end.
All right,
so the last 3 playoff
losses. What's going on with Mike McCarthy? Is he going to keep his job?
Yeah, he's fired as hell, dude.
All right, on a scale, give us some odds.
I would be.
Give us some Brinson odds.
I would say that Mike McCarthy fired is minus 250, and Mike McCarthy keeping his job is 3-1. That's where I'm at on this one. I think it's obvious.
Breach.
If this were last offseason, I think he would have a chance. But with all the coaching talent out there, whether it's Belichick, whether it's Mike Vrabel, Jim Harbaugh,
Tomlin.
Mike, I mean, you just have these big names out there, and Jerry Jones loves a splashy hire. And look, you think Bill Belichick's team would fall behind 48-16 in a playoff game and sleepwalk through an entire first half of play? You can't. You can overlook a team. There's trap games in the regular season where you overlook a team. I get that. It's 17 games. It's tedious. That can't happen in the playoffs. You cannot have a trap game in the playoffs. It's survive and advance. You're out if you lose. He's done. I cannot see him surviving.
Jerry Jones literally hired Belichick's mentor, Bill Parcells, at the exact same point, really, of his career as Belichick's out with the difference being that
this.
Yeah,
the man averaged over 37 points a game at home.
I'm not saying he should be fired. I'm saying he will be fired. There's a big difference.
Yeah, I'm sort of indifferent, and I was I'm probably
Jerry
higher
should have
McCarthy.
fired Wade Phillips for Chan Gailey, but he
I'm
did.
higher on McCarthy now than I was a year ago, and I think he actually exceeded my expectations once they got rid of Kellen Moore. So I give him credit for that. But every playoff loss is more demoralizing than the one that preceded it. It feels
I
like.
think I'll go counter to my argument before, but I think that Dan Quinn's probably out there having to say Dan Quinn's spending a lot of his mental time thinking about the Seahawks. And maybe that caused the defense not to be as good.
Don't make excuse for Dan Quinn. That defense got their asses kicked. And
They got their asses kicked. That's all I'm saying. Is like Mike McCarthy's
Dan Quinn knew that how the Packers did.
All I'm saying is-
Packers didn't do anything unusual. They had no answers.
Mike McCarthy didn't go out there and like poop his pants. Dak was terrible and Dan Quinn was terrible.
Yeah, let me ask you that, Breach. If Matt LaFleur is calling plays for Dak Prescott, Matt LaFleur is getting fired too, it feels like.
Matt LaFleur, if he calls plays like, wait, what?
If he were calling plays Sunday night in that game instead of Mike McCarthy, there was nothing he could do because Dak was that bad. That's my point.
I mean, there was a situation where you're down 14-0, you're at the Packers 42-yard line, and you punt. I mean,
that's
those are the things that we're talking about.
Dude, Dak made some bad throws. He missed Jalen Tolbert wide open on what would have been an easy touchdown on the left side. Late. I mean, there's a bunch of like Dak played terrible. Dan Quinn wasn't. I mean, excuse me. Mike McCarthy wasn't like great, but this
How do you
was
know?
like what?
How do you know? I mean, Dak played,
all I'm saying is that this game is going to be an indictment of Mike McCarthy. Is what I'm saying. That's my take.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think it's unfair to heap blame on Mike McCarthy. I'm not a Mike McCarthy stan, as the kids say, but it's just, I mean,
I was saying he didn't do anything exceptionally dumb or bad that was obvious to us.
He coached better in this game than he did in the Lions game that they should have lost.
Yeah. But that's my point is the reality is he is going to take the blame for this. And as Breach pointed out, in an offseason with Harbaugh and Belichick out there, like if Belichick can make it known to Jerry Jones in 15 seconds, if he hasn't already, which he would have already done, that he is interested if Jerry Jones wants to make a change. As in, Jerry Jones is fully aware right now, and before he spoke to the media tonight, that if Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones reads Pro Football Talk, and Mike Florio has been hammering his keyboard talking about how Mike McCarthy, if he lost to the Packers at home, which we didn't think would happen, might be a candidate to be replaced by Bill Belichick. So if all those parties want that to happen, it's not that far-fetched for it to happen. And Mike McCarthy pooped the bed against the Packers at home. And now this is a prime Jerry Jones firing spot.
Breach,
if you are drinking every time Brinson says pooped something, you are wasted right now. And I am sorry. I should have brought my shot glass. I will just say real quick. I will say this real quick when it comes to, because look, Greg Olson was saying this on the telecast that you can't fire Mike McCarthy. He's done, who are you going to replace him with? He's done so well. He's got the most wins over the past 3 seasons without getting to a conference title game, which is negative, but you can't take those regular season wins away. And how are you going to prove? I think at the end of the day, for Jerry Jones, who is 81 years old, it comes down to this. Who gives me the best shot of winning a Super Bowl next year? I don't care about my regular season wins as long as they get me the playoffs. And once I'm in the playoffs, who gives me a better shot? The guy who is 1-3. What is he? He's 1-3 since he took McCarthy's 1-3 with the Cowboys in the playoffs. Or do I want the guy who goes to the Super Bowl almost every year? And somebody did mention that, yes, the Bills blew out the Patriots the last time Belichick was in the playoffs, but the Bills were a big favorite in that game. Nobody expected the Patriots to win. This is not the same thing where the Cowboys were a huge favorite. This was a meltdown. This was a failure on every level for Dallas.
I'll just say this one last time, and then you guys can tell me who you think is the best. Number one, you'll get one answer. And this, again, I'm just quoting Jerry Jones last week. Coach McCarthy is under contract for next year. That's not an issue. I couldn't be more pleased with what he's done and how he's coached. So he'll be asked about those comments, and you can say the blowout changed his mind. I get that. All right, Breach, who is the one and only coach to save Mike McCarthy from himself?
Who would I take?
Yeah.
I think it would be Belichick. I think you're staring out your window. Jones is going to want to win the Super Bowl next year. To a very small window. You're looking at 1 to 3 years. It needs to be right now. And I think if you're in the win now mentality, you're probably going with Belichick.
If you could bet Bill Belichick to be the next Cowboys coach, go bet it.
Okay.
Brinson here.
To Belichick.
What do you think, Wilson? You clearly.
Who do you
don't
think is the
it's
next
Belichick.
Cowboys coach?
You think it's McCarthy? He stays,
Oh
doesn't
my
he?
God.
I think
Stan-
McCarthy stays.
How did you morph into a McCarthy stan?
I'm
You
just
know what?
reading
You
the
should
quotes
probably
from
take
Jerry
our-
Jones has never lied to me.
3,000 is now Wilson bot
Jerry
3,000.
Jones has never lied to me, Breach. That's all
Welcome
I'm
to
saying.
the club,
Big
Wilson.
Mac bot 3,000.
I think Mike Vrabel will be a much better coach than Bill Belichick there. But
You
that'd
should
be my-
you
I'll
should take
vote-
the second break now and just
I'll vote Vrabel.
roll on.
And
through.
Belichick will bring McDaniels with him. There'll be 2 peas in a pod. Boom.
Yes.